about creating a pivot table. And in this video, I'd like to talk about a few modifications that we can do to our pivot table. And I'm not even going to be talking about using the different tabs here. I'm just going to talk about using the little control panel or the pivot table field list, is its actual name. So, I've created a basic pivot table. I've got the type, whether it's an income or an expense, and I've got the description of that income or expense, and I've got a total amount. Let's say, for, a modification we'd like to make. I would like to actually see invoices, or not invoices, rather, incomes or expenses up along the columns instead, and have a list going down. So to move a field from one area to another of your pivot table, you can simply click and hold on it and drag it into that area. So I'm going to take type, I'm just going to drag it over into columns. Here we go, I've got expense listed, I've got income listed. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense to look at this data in this way. So we can just as easily flip it back. So I can go ahead and click and hold on type, drag it back into the rows section, and away we go. We can even flip the data. So I could actually take description and say I want to put it on the top of type. Again, this doesn't make a lot of sense, okay? So when you're first trying out pivot tables, be aware that they're very easy to change. There's no real wrong move that we can do. If we organize our fields in such a way that doesn't make too much sense for our pivot table, well, it's only a simple click to change it. Let's make another addition. So I'm going to go ahead and click on amount. I'm going to drag it back into the value section. As soon as I do that, it adds a duplicate field. Now, this of course seems a bit redundant, but what if I decide I don't want a sum? I would like to count, knowing how many cable bills have I paid, how many food expenses did I have, so on and so forth. So to do that, over in your control panel, your pivot table field list, I'm just going to move my mouse over sum of amount 2. I'm going to click the little drop down. I'm going to choose value field settings. Quickly change it to a count, and now I have a different set of data there. Now, we'll talk specifically about changing the summary function in pivot table in another video. This is just to introduce you to the fact that pivot tables are very easy to change, and the modifications can be done by simply clicking and dragging. One thing we haven't talked about is how to remove an item from a pivot table. And to do that, let's say I wanted to remove the count, I can simply click and hold on that field, drag it onto a blank area of the spreadsheet, let go, and it's going to remove it. I can do that for any of the fields and modify the way the pivot table looks.